Stand in a Lancashire field in 1700 and see an England that has barely changed in centuries. Farmers work the land using methods their ancestors used, villages cluster around medieval churches, and life moves at the pace of oxen and seasons. Now stand in that same spot in 1900 and see a landscape transformed beyond recognition. Massive textile mills dominate the skyline, railways cut through the countryside, smoke from thousands of chimneys turns the sky gray, and the sound of machinery never stops. This is the Industrial Revolution, and it didn't just change England, it changed the entire world. Over 2 centuries, England transformed from an agricultural nation of 5 million people into an industrial empire of 30 million, creating unprecedented wealth alongside unprecedented misery, inventing technologies that would define modernity while destroying ways of life that had existed for millennia. This wasn't gradual evolution, this was revolution. Violent in its economic and social disruption, even when physically peaceful. Today, advanced AI technology allows us to transform historical records, factory specifications, and surviving photographs into photorealistic recreations, bringing this 200-year transformation back to life. Join me as we walk through England from 1700 to 1900, witnessing the birth of the industrial world, understanding what was gained and what was lost, and discovering how this revolution in one island nation reshaped human civilization forever. 1700, pre-industrial England. Walk through the English countryside in 1700 and see a world that would be recognizable to someone from 1400. About 80% of England's 5 million people live in rural areas, working the land as their families have for generations. Villages are small, perhaps 50 to 100 people, clustered around a church, with houses and cottages scattered among fields worked communally under the open field system. Stand in one of these villages at dawn and watch the day begin. Farmers walk to fields they don't own but hold by tradition, working strips of land scattered throughout the common fields. They plow with wooden plows pulled by oxen, sow seed by hand, and harvest with hand tools. The methods haven't changed in centuries. Yields are low, perhaps 10 bushels per acre for wheat, but consistent enough to support the population. Look at the houses. Timber frames with wattle and daub walls, thatched roofs, small windows with no glass. Inside, families live in 1 or 2 rooms with earthen floors, sleeping on straw, cooking over open fires. Furniture is minimal. Possessions are few. But there's stability, community, and a rhythm to life dictated by seasons and tradition. The cottage industries are important, spinning and weaving done at home, producing woolen cloth that's England's main export. Walk into a cottage and see a woman spinning wool on a spinning wheel while her husband works a hand loom, producing cloth that merchants will collect and export. The work is slow, individual, and decentralized. A skilled weaver might produce 15 yards of cloth per week. This is pre-industrial England, poor by modern standards, but stable, sustainable, and comprehensible. Life is hard, but predictable. Change comes slowly, if at all. Within a century, this world will begin disintegrating. Within 2 centuries, it will be almost unrecognizable. 1750, the agricultural revolution begins. Walk through that same village in 1750 and notice changes beginning. The enclosure movement is transforming agriculture. The old open fields where villagers held scattered strips are being consolidated into single large farms, enclosed by hedgerows and farmed more efficiently by fewer people using new methods. Watch as surveyors mark boundaries and laborers build hedgerows. The village commons, land used communally for grazing livestock and gathering firewood, disappear behind fences. Wealthy landowners claim exclusive ownership of land that was previously communal. They justify this by improving productivity, and they're right. Enclosed farms using crop rotation, selective breeding, and better tools produce far more food per acre. But observe the human cost. Small farmers who held strips in the common fields receive tiny compensation or none at all. They can't afford to enclose their own farms. They lose their livelihood. Some become wage laborers on the new large farms. Others drift to towns seeking work. The village population begins declining. Fewer people need to work more productive farms. New crops appear, turnips, clover, allowing year-round livestock feeding rather than autumn slaughter. Selective breeding creates larger sheep, the New Leicester breed, and cattle. Jethro Tull's seed drill plants seeds in rows rather than broadcasting, improving yields. 1770. Early factories and water power. Travel to Derbyshire in 1770 and visit Cromford, where Richard Arkwright has built something new, a water-powered cotton spinning mill. This isn't cottage industry. This is the factory system being born. Stand outside Arkwright's mill and see a building unlike anything that existed before. 5 stories high, 100 feet long, filled with machinery powered by a water wheel. Enter the mill and experience early industrial work. The ground floor houses the water wheel, 23 feet in diameter, transmitting power through shafts and belts to machinery on every floor. The building vibrates with mechanical energy. The noise is overwhelming. Hundreds of spinning machines clattering simultaneously, leather belts slapping, gears meshing. Watch the workers, mostly women and children because their labor is cheaper. A child aged 8 or 9 tends several spinning machines, walking between them, mending broken threads, replacing full bobbins. The work requires dexterity, but not strength. The children work 12 to 14 hours daily, 6 days a week. Exhaustion is constant. Accidents are frequent. Fingers crushed in gears, hair caught in machinery, children maimed for life. Yet this mill produces more cotton thread in a day than 100 hand spinners could in a week. 1800. The steam engine changes everything. Stand in Birmingham in 1800 and witness James Watt's steam engine transforming industry. Earlier mills required water power, limiting locations to riversides. Watt's improved steam engine, using separate condensers, more efficient, more powerful, allows factories anywhere coal can be transported. This unlocks industrial potential. Visit Matthew Boulton and James Watt's Soho foundry and see industrial manufacturing at new scale. The foundry produces steam engines that power factories across England and beyond. The precision machining, the division of labor, the systematic production methods, these pioneer mass manufacturing. But look beyond the innovation to the human experience. Birmingham's population has doubled in 50 years, reaching 70,000. Housing can't keep up. Workers crowd into hastily built tenements, multiple families per room, no sanitation, contaminated water. Disease is epidemic. Life expectancy in working-class districts is perhaps 30 years. The air is changing. Coal smoke from thousands of furnaces creates permanent haze. The term black country emerges for the industrial Midlands, where coal smoke blackens everything. Buildings turn black within years. Respiratory diseases become endemic. The environmental cost of industrialization becomes visible. 1900. A transformed nation. Has increased from perhaps 35 to 48 years, despite industrial pollution. Better nutrition, sanitation, and medicine counter industrial hazards. Walk through a typical working-class neighborhood in 1900. The housing is still cramped, but better than mid-century slums. Proper brick terraces with individual houses, indoor plumbing becoming common, gas lighting standard, streets paved and drained. Working hours have decreased. 10 hours daily is now typical. Saturday half-days are common. Wages have risen. Real wages for workers roughly doubled between 1850 and 1900. Children attend school rather than factories. Women have more opportunities, though still limited and unequal. They can work in shops, offices, teaching, nursing. The middle class is large and growing. Consumer culture exists. Department stores, advertising, mass-produced goods affordable to ordinary people. But the costs are visible everywhere. The air in industrial cities is still toxic. Coal smoke creates the London particular, fog so thick it stops traffic. Rivers remain polluted despite improvements. The countryside has been transformed. Railways, mines, quarries, factories scattered across formerly agricultural land. The social fabric has changed fundamentally. The old village community, the extended family networks, the stability of agricultural life, mostly gone. In its place, urban anonymity, nuclear families, social mobility, but also insecurity. You can rise higher than your parents, but also fall farther. Stand in England today, and you're living in the world the Industrial Revolution created. The technologies, the social structures, the economic systems, the urban landscapes, all trace back to those two transformative centuries. Steam power, railways, factories, mass production, industrial capitalism, the modern working class, trade unions, public education, public health, all pioneered or perfected during Britain's Industrial Revolution. Understanding this transformation means recognizing both achievement and cost. Britain created unprecedented wealth, lifted millions from agricultural subsistence, pioneered technologies that would spread globally, and established patterns of development others would follow. The modern world, with its material abundance, its technological sophistication, its global integration, emerged from these 2 centuries of British industrialization. But the costs were staggering. Millions lived and died in appalling conditions, breathing poisoned air, drinking contaminated water, working brutal hours in dangerous conditions. Children labored in mines and factories. The environment was devastated. Traditional communities were destroyed. Colonies were exploited. The benefits flowed primarily to capital owners, while workers bore the costs. The Industrial Revolution wasn't inevitable progress. It was a series of choices about how to organize production, how to distribute wealth, who bears costs, and who receives benefits. Different choices would have created different outcomes. Understanding this history helps us recognize that our current systems aren't natural or inevitable. They're the result of choices that can be questioned and changed. Walk through England today and see both triumph and tragedy. Railway viaducts still carrying trains, factory buildings converted to apartments, mill towns struggling to find new identities, cities finally recovering from industrial pollution. The Industrial Revolution built the modern world, and we're still living with its consequences, still trying to enjoy its benefits while mitigating its costs. This was England's Industrial Revolution, 2 centuries that transformed a nation and, through it, the world, creating modernity with all its promises and problems. If you enjoyed this journey through industrial transformation, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss where we're going next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the past.